2018. For those that have not had the pleasure before, a couple of points before we start. First of all, if you could silence your cell phones, we'd greatly appreciate that. Second of all, after we do the roll and approve the minutes, the way things work is city staff will present on an item, and after they're done with their presentation, they open it up just to the commission for technical questions. Once we're done with technical questions, we'll close that and open it up for public commentary. If you have anything to say, we politely ask that you step up to the microphone and state your name and address so we have it for the minutes. We also reserve the right to ask you any questions if we have any. After all people who have desired to speak have done so, we close public commentary, bring it back to the commission for discussion and usually a vote. With that, let's call.
John Hintz,
Here.
John Kiefer, Robert Weigert,
Here.
Thomas Perry,
Here.
Kathleen Propp,
Here.
David Borsak,
Present.
Ed Bowen, Steve Cummings, Michael Ford, Thomas Wojtek.
Here. Next item, approval of the minutes from January 16th. Do we have any additions, corrections, deletions?
Motion to approve.
Second. You can have it, David.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion clearly passes. Let's move on to item number 1, access control variances to allow increased driveway entrance width, curb cut width, driveway spacing, and reduce the lateral clearance at 2175 West 9th Avenue.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Welcome, sir.
Here's an aerial view of the subject site. It is located on the 2100 block of West 9th Avenue between South Washburn Street and Cumberland Trail, and is being used for a daycare. Plans have been submitted for redevelopment of the site for a new gas station. And here's a site plan of the proposed redevelopment. The proposed parking area will have one driveway access from West 9th Avenue with a entrance width of 36 feet and curb cuts of 46 feet. Access control variances are required as the maximum permitted entrance width is 30 feet and maximum curb cut is 40 feet. Staff is supportive of this request as the increased entrance width is needed to provide for a 3-lane entrance to the site with a 4-foot wide median. Is also needed for sufficient access to the site for customers and delivery trucks. The proposed driveway access will be separated from the existing driveway on the adjacent property to the east by 110 feet, and access control variance is needed as a 125-foot separation is required. Staff does not have concerns with the proposed spacing reduction as the driveway entrance is centrally located on the lot, and it would not be feasible to meet the spacing requirement from the driveways on each of the adjoining properties. The proposed lateral clearance of the parking lot is about 22 feet, where code requires a 75-foot lateral clearance. Staff does not see any concerns or major issues, as most commercial properties in the immediate vicinity have non-conforming lateral clearances, and the proposed 22-foot lateral clearance is consistent with other commercial sites in the surrounding area. The Department of Public Works has reviewed the proposal and noted that further detail of how raised areas will be constructed to discourage passenger vehicle use is needed. And here is the truck turning template for the site. And staff recommends approval of access control variances to permit increased entrance width, increased curb cut width, reduced driveway spacing, and reduced lateral clearance as proposed.
All right, thank you, sir. Technical questions? Seeing none, anyone here from the public to speak to this item today? Once? Twice? Okay, back to the commission.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, call the roll.
Hintz,
Aye.
Weigert,
Aye.
Perry,
Aye.
Propp,
Aye.
Borsak,
Aye.
Bowen,
Aye.
Wojtek.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Okay, moving on to item number 2, residential design standards variance to allow window area reduction at 1333 West Bent Avenue.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Welcome, sir.
So this item actually came before the Plan Commission before, at the January 2nd meeting this year. At that meeting, the applicant had proposed reducing the size of the windows. We as staff had recommended denial of that proposal, and then all of you at Plan Commission asked us to work with the applicant to come up with something that could work for both the city and the applicant. So here's the subject site in blue, single-family residential, SR9, I believe. and everything immediately around it is single-family residential. Get a sense of it right there. And she was looking to modify the size of the windows on the north facade facing Bent, and then on the west facade. This is kind of some images that she submitted, showing the house and then the windows in question. These are some images that I did. So this was the current state of the house here. And then what we were thinking about here, so you get a sense of the size of the windows, and there is a decent amount of reduction. It's certainly noteworthy here. Over here, you notice, if you look, that the window immediately to the right of the door there would be gone. And then this window here would get smaller also. And then on the west side, I did not do any drawings of that, but she would have 3 windows of the same size as this one here, double hungs on the west side immediately on the other side of that facade there. These are some existing photographs, or showing existing conditions, I should say. So you can see the exterior there, and then some of the work that she had started on the side of the house here. And then inside here is actually what would become the kitchen space. So this is the existing, I believe it's a sliding window there. And she wanted to do cabinetry here, raise the sill height of this. And so this window would probably be a similar width, but the sill height would go up a little bit to allow for that cabinetry there. Getting another sense of it there. Same kind of type of image here, but off from an angle there, showing that kitchen space. Obviously there's some materials up here with the work being done, but you get a sense of the size of that window, the sill height there. It's not very far off the ground at all. And then moving upstairs to the bedrooms, which would have the other window that would be reduced. You get a sense here of the height of the sill there. And she was concerned with the safety aspect, you know, grandchildren potentially climbing up and easily getting to that sill there. She wanted to reduce the size of those windows there and replace those. Some more images here. There is a central stair that actually restricts what she can do. I wish I could get this cursor to work a little bit better. So that's looking through this, what would become the stair here. What is the stair? It's just framed here. Everything's been stripped down inside the house. So the sheetrock is gone, the insulation is gone. You're looking towards the bedroom on the second floor here, the existing windows that would be reduced. And then this over here is actually what would become a dining room. And so what looked to have been a porch is now proposed to become a dining room. These are framed out areas for the 3 windows here, double hung. And then this would be the existing double hung there. And they would all be the same size, same sill height, etc. And then over here, you get a sense of that stair there. Like I said, it restricts what she can do. These spaces on each side of it are pretty constrained. You know, defines those spaces. And we figured that the most logical place for the kitchen would be the front of the house, based on the floor plan. I don't have a floor plan drawn here, but hopefully you can get a sense from the images. Some more images here. There's that stair from another angle. And then she was going to make this over here a mudroom. I think that's on the east side of the house there. And then you're looking at the west side on the right here. What we were proposing as sort of a compromise with the applicant was, instead of outright denying what she's looking to do, we were recommending that maybe she look at double casement windows, French casement style windows. The reason being is because we wanted her to preserve the look of the house architecturally, but we were also concerned with fire egress. That was a major consideration in recommending these windows. If you look at these, you can get a simulated check rail for some of these that simulates the look of a double hung window, but both windows swing out and afford much more of an opening that is unobstructed for fire purposes, fire egress, emergency access. I talked to the inspections department. I talked to John Zarate there, ran this by them, and I would have the applicant talk to them further if she was approved for this. But you just get a sense of some of the available window styles here. Some of these we thought could be similar to the appearance of the other double hung windows on the house, even though it is a casement style window. Here is an isometric view of the kitchen that she is looking to do. So this would be that front facade of the house here. This would be the side east facade here. The window would be obviously in this space here. She might lose a little bit of cabinetry, but we figured that that casement style window would allow for preserving the architectural integrity, but then also allowing to raise the sill height on the first and second floor. And then over here would be the dining room. This here just kind of hits at that egress consideration that we had to think about. So if you look on the left here, there are some double hung windows, and you notice that basically a 20 by 24 inch minimum clear space would be required. But on top of that, you have to have 5.7 square feet of clear space. So simply having, say, two 24 by 48 double hung windows would not be acceptable for fire egress for the second floor. You'd have to go much wider and much taller in most cases to get that sash to open up to create a space that is 5.7 square feet in area. If you did a double casement window, or a French casement style window, you could have a 48 by 48 inch opening, which is not shown here, but 48 by 48 inch rough opening where both leaves swing out, and you could get this clear space that's required much more easily. So that just kind of shows, some of the dimensions that would be required, maximum 44 inch sill height, she'd be well under that. And then the 24 by 20 inch clear space, 5.7 square feet. The recommendation for this one is staff recommends approval of a variance from the city's residential design standards to allow for the size reduction of 6 window openings and elimination of 1 window opening. And then the conditions would be that the window trim would match the color and appearance of the existing windows on the home. The proposed work would meet all applicable design standards, other than obviously the ones that she'd be looking to receive the variance from. And then number 3, she would discuss with the building inspectors and ensure that the window choices and opening widths meet all building codes, including light, ventilation, and egress. And then 4, the window would just be installed consistent with the proposal detailed in the staff report.
All right, thank you. Technical questions from the commission? David?
So a general question, refresh my memory, did this construction start before this process?
Actually, I believe it did in that dining room area. So if I go back, I can probably show you the part that did. She started remodeling before, but just going back here. Actually, I gotta.
And the only reason for the question is, it seems that that's one of the most repetitive things we see here, is in single-family homes that, perhaps all good intentions, but that there's a tremendous amount of remodeling that's going on without first consulting the city, and sometimes, puts us in a difficult situation. I don't know how we address that. But secondly, as a general observation, the amount of work that you put into this and the recommendations for the resident, I think are commendable.
Yeah, very, very thorough, very impressive.
Thanks.
Other technical questions? Seeing none, anyone here from the public to speak to this item today? Okay, back to the commission.
Motion approved with the conditions listed.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Go ahead, Kath.
I just want to weigh in also that, thank you for this superb job, and I'm glad we laid it over. There's a much better product.
Thank you.
And I would add that we appreciate your patience, ma'am. So, anything else? Let's call a roll in.
Ince,
Aye.
Weigert,
Aye.
Harry,
Aye.
Pratt,
Aye.
Orsic,
Aye.
Bowen,
Aye.
Wojtek.
Aye.
Motion carried.
All right, moving on, item number 3. 2-lot land division and certified survey map and right-of-way dedications for property located at 2175 Panoqua Street, Lakeshore Municipal Code.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The city is requesting approval of a 2-lot land division and certified survey map at the Lakeshore Municipal Golf Course located at 2175 Pinoka Street. In late 2017, the city had a previous certified survey map prepared to create an approximately 33-acre parcel right in the center of the golf course, which is planned to be sold to Oshkosh Corporation for its global headquarters. This map's intent is to dedicate public right-of-way to connect the Oshkosh Corp's parcel to an extension of North Keller Street to the south. The proposed land dedication begins on the north end of North Keller Street and extends to the northeast approximately 750 feet until reaching the southwest corner of the proposed Oshkosh Corp parcel. The east end of the dedication is designed to connect with an anticipated extension of North Westfield Street from the south and punching through these lots and connect with this proposed dedication. This dedication does create a small 0.7 acre outlot between the back lot lines of the properties along Oshkosh Avenue and the proposed dedication. The shape and small size of the outlot makes it undevelopable. However, the city does have the option to dispose of the property to the south and potentially create a larger lot for redevelopment of those sites. There is a second dedication request. It's a 25-foot corner radius. Actually, I think I have a close-up of this area. Oop. There we go. Here's a close-up of the dedications. Over here on the southeast corner of the golf course property, we're proposing a 25-foot corner radius right-of-way dedication. These are desirable from a public facility standpoint. It allows for easier installation of wheelchair ramps and traffic signals without the needs for easement acquisitions or from the neighboring properties. The Department of Public Works reviewed the proposed CSM and does not have any concerns with the proposed street layout. And staff is recommending approval of the two-lot land dedication as proposed.
All right, technical questions. Kathy and Annette.
Maybe silly question. How will this right-of-way dedication allow Oshkosh Corp public access to their site? We still don't have Westfield extended.
This will be
No,
public
no.
right-of-way right here. So this, in the future, this
Oh,
will
I
become a
see,
street.
I see,
Yeah.
the end of their site, the
Correct.
tail end of their
Mhm.
site. Okay. Got it.
Westfield Street's coming. I mean, there'll be an official map action coming very soon.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, I should mention, I'm sorry, there is a proposed name for the street. It's going to be Four-Wheel Drive. So,
What?
Four-Wheel Drive.
Ed, technical question.
Why?
Yeah.
What was the original name of Oshkosh Corporation?
Anyway, Ed, you had,
Sorry
Well,
about
now
that.
now I've got different technical questions, I guess, but I don't. Whatever. Is there a reason? Sorry, that's throwing me. Is there a reason that we're not doing any right-of-way dedication behind the easternmost lots there while we're doing this? I know those are obviously slated at some point in the future under this traffic impact analysis that we're allegedly going to see someday to be part of the calculations for this, that those will be slated for redevelopment at some point. Is there any reason that we're not also doing dedications as part of that portion of it?
right, moving on to item number 5, plan development for an amended general development plan and specific, oh, pardon me.
Number four.
Number 4, pardon me. Assessor's plat, Skippy Avenue area.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Here we go. Okay, the city is requesting approval of an assessor's plat containing 7 single-family lots, which is identified as the assessor's plat CP Avenue area. This is a replat of a portion of Block 30 of Leach's map of the 8th Ward, which was recorded in 1894, and will correct erroneous lot lines that are affecting the 7 subject properties. On the screen is the current parcel configuration with lot lines drawn more or less going through garages, clipping corners of houses, going through driveways, and is not consistent with the existing and historic occupational use of the properties. The original plat, sorry for the quality, but this is the original plat, which is the Andre and Priest's edition of the Town Plat of Oshkosh, which was recorded in 1850. These lots were drawn with lot lines drawn perpendicular to CP Avenue, which is consistent with the orientation of the homes that were constructed shortly after that. And then in 1868, on the left side, that's Palmer's edition of Second Ward. Palmer, for unknown reasons, redraw the lot lines so they were no longer perpendicular to CP Avenue, but parallel with Rosalia on the east side. Now what this did, let me go back to the photo, it twisted these lot lines by about approximately 17 degrees, causing lot lines starting to go through these structures, and the property owners were unaware of what land was truly theirs or their neighbors. And then lastly, on the right side, the Palmer's map was replatted by Leach's map of the 8th Ward. He didn't change any the orientation of the lot lines. He just more or less carried on the situation. The Planning Services Division was approached by one of the affected property owners who wanted to construct a fence on what she believed to be on her property line. And then staff explained to her that, in fact, the land was actually on her neighbors. I can show you which one. Over here, 1334. She originally petitioned this, or to obtain a building permit to construct a fence along this lot line, and then we explained to her it's technically not your property. So staff reviewed the situation and determined that the easiest or the best way to rectify this problem is to have an assessor's plat drawn for these 7 affected properties. Staff from planning and the assessor's office, we hosted a neighborhood meeting with the affected property owners just to give them background information and potential ramifications if the lots continue to remain as is. The assessor's office informed the owners that lots remain unchanged. It may be potentially difficult to obtain clear title when trying to sell their homes because of lot lines going through structures and fences and driveways and that sort of thing, and well as continued confusion as to who owns what land among the neighbors. So after receiving feedback from the owners, staff recommended to the Common Council to order an assessor's plat, which it did in July of 2017. The city hired a consultant, Free Land Surveying and Engineering, to prepare the assessor's plat, and here it is. The scope of the work included meeting with each of the property owners to determine where the property line should be located based on the historic land use of and occupation of the properties. And after placement of the new property lines were agreed upon by the owners, the surveyor staked and remonumented the property corners and drafted the plat map, which is up on the screen. The Wisconsin Department of Administration approved the plat in November of 2017. And then the plat went on public display at the city's clerk's office for a statutory required minimum 30-day period, which lasted from November 26th through January 2nd. Now the plat corrects the nonconforming issues created by Palmer's map, including lines crossing through the structures and driveways, and recreated the lots based on the historic occupational use of the properties. In looking or comparing the assessor's plat to the original plat, the lots are almost identical in orientation and location. And if the plat is approved by the Common Council, it will be recorded at the Winnebago County Register of Deeds, and the lots will be officially changed. So we're recommending approval as presented.
Thank you, sir. Technical questions? Fascinating problem.
Long one.
All right, seeing none, anyone here from the public to speak to this item today? Okay, back to the commission.
Approve.
Second. Moved and seconded. Do we have any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, let's call the roll one more time.
Hintz,
Aye.
Kiefer,
Aye.
Weigert,
Aye.
Perry,
Aye.
Crop,
Aye.
Forsick,
Aye.
Bowen,
Aye.
Wojtek.
Aye.
Motion carried.
All right, now, moving on to number 5. Plan development for an amended general development plan and specific implementation plan for an indoor storage facility and outdoor display located at 900 North Keller Street.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Perfect.
In early 2017, the Plan Commission had heard and approved a general development plan for 900 North Kohler. That site included redevelopment of the main building to climate-controlled self-storage, 3 outlots in front of that, and then some accessory land uses for outdoor storage as well. Since that time, that property has flipped hands and a new developer has come in. We've met with this body twice for workshopping this, and at this time, they're ready to move forward with an official hearing. So here we have the current land use of the area. It is a commercial site with commercial both to the west across 41 and to the south. A mixture of multifamily residential to the east and north. Here's just an aerial of the site. It is currently almost 100% impervious surface between the building and the associated parking lot. So here is the new site plan for the developer. A couple things we'll point out quickly. From the iterations you've seen, the applicant has removed those mini storage buildings they were originally proposing. They still are proposing a vehicle display area immediately adjacent to North Kohler. Right now it is shown as 12 spaces. Staff is recommending those 12 spaces be held for only vans and pickup trucks, which are 2 of the types of vehicles that the applicant does rent out. A couple of other modifications. So they are showing complete landscaping around the entirety of the proposed outlot. Staff is in support of that outlot and its configuration, with one additional requirement that outlot have some additional tree plantings around it. Right now, the applicant is showing that it is basically just shrubs surrounding that. On the street sides of Robin and North Kohler, staff is recommending that be a requirement that it meet our current street landscaping ordinance, which would be approximately 700 points of street trees. That way it would be consistent with what they're doing on the northeast and southwest corners of the site. They have a vehicle shunting area kind of shown in the center of the site. That is the area where kind of the different trailers and other equipment that they rent, their larger vans, would be lined up for rental. They have added a landscaping bed immediately to the west of that to help kind of shield that view a little bit from the street. Right now it is shown as 2 trees and shrubs. Staff is recommending a couple additional trees be placed in there. But we'll get to kind of some of those recommendations at the end. But they are trying to soften that site. Along the southwest corner of the property, the applicant is proposing to remove a decent amount of asphalt, curb and gutter that, and then use that extreme southwest corner as their snow storage area to help eliminate the fact that presently a lot of that snow storage runs off into Sawyer Creek. So they are proposing to try to mitigate that with some curbing and landscaping. As for the building, this is similar to the elevation you saw last, except they have removed a number of what are considered the lifestyle banners. So that's these, if I can get the mouse here, these banners that are on each side of the main entrance. Believe the previous iteration you saw, I also had them on the 2 ends. So they have scaled that back to a degree. The current signage plan is over the code allotment. The staff is supporting a base standard modification in this case for the increased wall signage, as the majority of that signage in nature is graphics and not text. And we feel with the size and the redevelopment taking place here, that a base standard modification to allow that could be appropriate. We do have, shown in the bottom here, a new monument sign. They're proposing to remove the existing sign and erect a new sign. That sign would have some brick pillars that would match some of the bricking on the building. It is proposed at about 400 square feet, which is the maximum for this site. With that, the staff is recommending that the outlot not be allowed any independent freestanding signage, and that this monument sign be used kind of as a building sign for both the U-Haul and that hopeful future tenant of the outlot, and that they reserve about 50 square feet of this sign for a tenant panel in the future for that outlot. Here are just kind of the other building elevations showing the sides and backs of the building. Both this center, I'll call it a tower for lack of a better term, the center portion of the building would be a building addition to what is currently there, as well as these two kind of end cap are both additions to the building, kind of enhance it. Right now it's a pretty plain kind of single-story facade. They're using some roof articulation to help kind of break that up and make a little bit better looking of a building. The applicant has provided some renderings of what it could look like. This was original rendering you had seen previously. As you can see, the outdoor storage had been removed. There's where they're kind of showing some of the landscaping. This is kind of from that northwest corner, viewing down towards the site. Provided two additional renderings. So at the top, again, is from the northwest site. You can see kind of the landscaping around that proposed outlot. You can see the tree plantings kind of going along Robin Avenue. You can see the landscape area out in front of the vehicle display here. And you can see the landscaping kind of in front of the shunting. Then moving to the bottom picture, this would be kind of from the southwest corner, where you can see this area where it's asphalt would be removed, new curbing would be put in, and this would be their snow storage area to help kind of mitigate some of that runoff that's going towards the creek. Again, here's the shunting area with the proposed landscaping in front of it. And then here is kind of the vehicle display area with the enhanced landscaping in front of that. Backing up to the site plan, presently there are 6 access points to the site. The applicant is proposing to keep kind of the southern 2 along North Colder Street. There is presently one at the very north kind of west corner of the site that right now is being shown as closed. So staff is recommending the closure of that, then it be returned to city standard for curbing. There's a single access point here that is intended to be maintained, and presently this is 2 driveways very close together. Talking to the applicant and with Department of Public Works, we're proposing that be changed to a single access point, class 3 driveway to accommodate the truck traffic. The applicant has indicated that they only use straight trucks for deliveries. The deliveries that this truck dock is generally going to see is deliveries for the retail component of their business. Their business has a retail buying boxes, rental area in the front of the building, and the truck deliveries are for that portion of the business, and they are straight trucks only. They are not semi-trailers. So staff is recommending we put a condition on it to keep it as such. Straight trucks will be able to make these turns without having to back through the street where a semi-trailer may, and the city ordinances do not permit backing in of a truck or trailer into a site. So staff is recommending approval with a number of conditions, and we'll kind of go through the conditions and talk about them. The first would be approval of a CSM showing that 2-lot configuration, the main lot for the U-Haul and that outlot to be created. Staff is recommending a cross-access easement to be placed between those 2 lots. That outlot itself, which is considered Lot 2, would not meet the spacing requirements for any driveways of its own. So we would like to see cross-access easements placed that as that lot develops in the future, it's maintaining those same access points that are already out there. And then to go in conjunction with that a vehicle access restriction be placed along that frontage to make sure that no new driveways are placed for that lot. Full closure of the westernmost driveway as we discussed and returning that to city standards. Delivery trucks be limited to the straight trucks only and that no semi-trailer delivery be allowed. If Lot 2 has not been developed within 3 years, all asphalt shall be removed and returned to a vegetative state. it is our recommendation that, give them some time. We want to make sure they have an opportunity to do that. But if after 3 years that lot has not been developed, we'd like to see the asphalt removed and a little bit more green space added. We feel 3 years in it is about an appropriate time frame for that. A couple of code requirements that they need to add to their site plan. We do require a minimum of a 4-space bike rack. So that will need to be added to the site. And we do require pedestrian connections from sidewalks on any public street to the building. They will need to make those connections. Department of Public Works had commented that they want to see positive drainage provided for Lot 2. Right now, a lot of the site, if I can get back to the site plan here, does drain kind of southeast of that northwest corner. And DPW had some concerns that if we do fully berm that in, that water is then just going to sit up against that landscape area. So the applicant has worked to provide a couple of cut-throughs where the water can flow through into the currently approved drainage for it. So we just didn't want to create a situation of stagnant water or ice or anything in the winter. We are suggesting that the front vehicle display be limited to only pickup trucks and vans. Any of the larger trucks or trailers would need to be located in the shunting area. That no outdoor storage be allowed on the site outside of that designated vehicle display area and the shunting area. Code compliance lighting plan be submitted. There was a couple of little areas that they were just over the minimum 0.5 candle light that they'll need to address as they go through the final site plan review for the site if it is approved. Final stormwater and utility plans be approved. They have provided some stormwater plans that Department of Public Works is reviewing, and we just want to make sure that that process is completed during the site plan review process. The applicant is proposing to kind of fall under that threshold of 20,000 square feet of new concrete and asphalt, where full drainage plans do not have to be updated. But in the future, when that outlaw would be developed, both their current site and the outlaw would have to be brought up to code, as well as if any sort of reconstruction of the parking lot needs to take place in the future, they will have to bring up both sites to current standards. But presently, they are under the threshold for full change there. Number 14 is adding that additional street landscaping for trees around the west and north side of the outlot. Number 15 is adding 2 additional deciduous trees in that shunting area. Right now, the shunting area consists of kind of 1 tree on the north end of it and 1 tree on the south end of it with just shrubs between it. It is staff's opinion that if we added 2 evenly spaced trees, it would help break up the look of those vehicles parked in the shunting area a little better. Staff is recommending, I'm going to go back to the site plan for this, 4 additional trees be placed kind of along the southwest corner as well. So, as we talk here, so here's the shunting area where we'd like to see at least 2 more trees placed. And then to help shield the view from the south, we'd like to see 4 additional trees placed in this landscaping bed to help soften that look as you go forward. Staff is recommending that a final landscaping plan be approved by our department. Right now, especially like in the shunting area, almost all of the shrubs are a single variety. We'd like to see a little bit more variety of the plants in there. We would like to have the opportunity to approve that final landscaping plan before they move forward. We are proposing that no freestanding signage be allowed for Lot 2 of the outlot, and that a minimum then of 50 square feet of signage on the pylon sign be reserved for that outlot. Finally, we have 2 more. A copy of the notice of intent for the Department of Public Works. Anytime someone starts to do disturbance of this, they have to do an NOI with the Department of Public Works. We just want to make sure the city's provided a copy of that. And then finally, the granting of a base standard modification to permit the additional wall signage as proposed. Overall, the staff feels that there is a lot of softening of this site taking place. It's presently basically 100% asphalt, and they're looking at removing a little over an acre of asphalt and concrete to add to these landscaping areas. Staff feels that definitely will be an improvement to the site, and kind of soften the look of it.
All right, thank you very much. Technical questions, David, let's go with you first.
One, again, I think that what we had originally, the work that you're doing is bringing it's gone a long way. And your efforts are, both applicants and your efforts should be commended. I'm confused about stormwater.
Yes.
You're saying that they're disturbing approximately, was it 44,000 square feet?
Yep.
Will that not trigger the 20,000?
No, the 20,000 is triggered of new concrete and curbing. They are not doing 20,000 square feet of new concrete or curbing.
Okay, where are they right now in the square footage against that?
I don't know the exact number. I know it's a little bit below that. Steve, do you recall what that? The only two areas of new curbing are that southwest landscape area, and then around the shunting area.
You know, and I don't know if, without getting too close, but if you're at 19,000 square feet, they're pretty close, and in that regards, I would suggest that in their site plan, even though they do not currently have to have a stormwater plan, either detention or sediment reduction, that it should be shown where they anticipate putting it, so that area is set aside. Then,
Wait, let's go back. Steve, you have a comment on it?
Just a slight clarification on that. The 20,000 square feet is impervious disturbed, so any new impervious area they put down will have to meet the 40% control on that. They'll probably likely meet that quite easily with either, if there's a grass strip anywhere, or likely some sumps and some inlet structures to collect some of the existing area. So that 20,000 square feet is is disturbed existing pavement, not new.
I think right now their plan that has been provided is adding a sump to take care of that 40%.
okay, but shouldn't that be shown anyways? I mean, I'd feel more comfortable if those provisions are on there, so
That's part of the state code, and it's part of the code that gets caught during site plan review.
Okay.
It's nothing the plan commission has to condition, it's part of the city code that they would have to meet.
Okay, then, was there any mention of where the refuse storage was gonna be?
Right now it is shown in the, let's go back, in this northeast corner where the loading dock is.
Okay,
So it's right here.
and then is there any plans, or did they show either above-ground storage tanks for gasoline or storage tanks for propane?
No, they do not.
Okay, so we assume that there's gonna be no flammables stored on site? Okay.
Other technical questions? Ed and John.
Condition one is, and this is procedural, I guess. Condition one is approval of a CSM showing the proposed two-lot configuration. We're not looking at a CSM
No, just
here. So is this just like sort of future approval of a CSM? I'm
saying
just
that-
curious, like.
Yeah, we will, that they will need to do a CSM to create this lot configuration as shown.
Okay.
It was similar to what we had done on the original GDP of
Okay,
this
so,
site.
so they'll bring the CSM back through to us. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't reading it
Yep, correct.
wrong.
John? And Kathy?
And I just wanted to clarify this, the 400 square feet for the sign, the pylon sign, that's the top part and including those bottom sections that they're putting
Correct.
in also?
Yep, total square footage of
And
400.
and what was it, 50 square feet, I think it was, that you recommended?
Correct.
Is for the outlot?
Correct.
In the future? Okay. Just wanted to make sure I was,
Kathy?
If snow is gonna be stored on that southwest corner, and it's going to be curbed, still gonna have to drain somewhere. Does it drain into Sawyer Creek around the curb? How does that work?
The site has numerous inlets in it today that it drains. Basically, the parking lot has depressions scattered throughout it. I believe there's 6 or 8 of them. I would expect that this area would be draining to one of those inlets and then and draining through to there. The big issue we're having is that with the current snow plowing, they're actually pushing the snow over the bank and into the creek, causing damage to the bank and potentially plugging the creek if too much snow gets pushed over. That's why we want it in the curbed area to basically contain that pile of
Force it into
snow
the inlets.
so that it drains and it goes back. We're not having piled snow sitting in the creek itself.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
As someone who lives near Sawyer Creek, I appreciate that. All right, any other technical questions? Okay, seeing none, anyone here from the public to speak to this item today? Okay, back to the commission. David?
I'm in general agreement, but I'm a little uncomfortable with the degree of landscaping in the shunting area. And 4 trees and some little shrubs. I would suggest, or like to suggest, something like arborvitae to give it a screen. A more intensive screening of that, whatever it is, 4 lanes of
I think what we weren't trying to block out the entire, get back to that screen once, Mark.
You want the rendering.
Yeah. What we weren't trying to do is block it visually, the whole thing, like maybe even a fence would do. What we were trying to do is put some elements in here that are just gonna break up that mass. So we thought a tree here and another 2 trees in here, along with the shrubs, would break up just the kind of the mass of the vehicles, because it'll create an area in front of those. So that was our pit, and that was our recommendation. That your recommendation is taking it into a different direction, if that's the way the Plan Commission wants to go. Yours would create more of a wall along there. We weren't trying to create more of the wall. We were trying to landscape the vehicles and just have something constantly in front of the vehicles, but still allow you to see some of the vehicles, but you're taking out some of that map.
Other thoughts? Gaff?
Call me.
Yep.
I think they've gone a long way toward satisfying what we want, and I'm ready to support this now. And I don't think we should wall off this shunting area with arborvitae, because they are, in fact, of course, trying to promote that. So the trees and shrubs that the staff is proposing, I think, will help soften it.
Thank you.
So I want to thank them for working with us.
Are we time for a motion yet or not?
Yes.
Motion, oh, you made a motion?
Sure. I'll make a motion to approve with conditions.
I'll second that.
You don't have to make all the
Any
motions.
further
I know.
discussion? Go ahead, John.
Just defer.
I just want to add on to what everybody else has been saying. I think it's great how far they've come with the staff and how far, we were so far apart at one point. And them, working with the city working with them, coming out with something like this. This is how we're supposed to develop, especially in this
Yeah.
area, so.
I appreciate it.
I have to comment that when I taught my kids to drive, I first took them to that parking lot, where there was nothing. It's good for that. It's good for nothing else. This is a huge improvement over. You couldn't hit anything in that parking lot. All right, with that.
University had some good lots too, though.
Yes, I also recommend the
I do love
cemetery.
it.
Riverside Cemetery is also excellent.
No complaint.
With that, let's call the roll.
Ince,
Aye.
Kiefer,
Aye.
Iger,
Aye.
Perry,
Aye.
Crop,
Aye.
Forsick,
Aye.
Bowen,
Aye.
Cummings,
Aye.
Wojtek.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Okay, excellent. Moving on to number 6, conditional use permit, general development plan, and specific implementation plan for an indoor personal storage facility located at 2175 to 2185 South Keller Street.
Okay, moving along. So now this site had a previously approved general development and PD plan under the old code. Applicant is proposing to come back and modify that. This is another kind of vacant big box store. Housed, some of the prior uses were the J.C. Penney site and the Miles Kimball site. It's about 62,000 square feet of retail space and then associated parking with that. Again, this applicant is coming in proposing to do climate-controlled self-storage in that building. To kind of the existing land uses, it is a largely commercial area that's just kind of to the west of the airport. We have commercial to the north of it. The Rogans, I believe, is the immediately north adjacent user. Across 41, we have commercial. Immediately to the east of Kohler, we have commercial. And then to the south, we kind of have that State Highway 44. So this is just an aerial kind of the site, just to kind of reference. This is the Rogan's property. And then this is the old, J.C. Penney's and Miles Kimball. Right now, it's presently with 3 lots that this applicant, it does not have any direct access of its own. It is accessed through the shared drive access immediately to the north of these parcels. And just kind of a little closer up so you can see the site. And it is a largely impervious lot today. Up here is the site plan for the facility. The applicant only needs about 12 to 15 parking spots. So they're looking at providing those kind of on the south here. On the south, they're proposing to add a new entrance into the building. It'd be both an overhead door and a pedestrian style door. And then the remaining of the parking required will be made up with newly striped parking here, where they have 2 more entrances into the buildings. A couple of the changes they are looking at making right now, there's 3 loading docks that all service basically semi-truck traffic. Applicant with their users, they have kind of a mixture of commercial users and then individual kind of residential style users. They don't feel the need for really 3 loading docks, so they'd like to modify 2 of those loading docks to kind of meet the variety of traffic they're going to see, anywhere from somebody with a pickup truck to a box truck and the semi-truck, because they do have some commercial users that rent space from their facilities. So that would allow them kind of that 3 different styles of delivery traffic for their facility. The applicant had the site had a previously approved landscape plan along this south and southeast side of the building. A number of those shrubs have died off over the years from when this development was originally done. So the applicant is looking to restore all of the landscaping that's missing and bring that back up to code. I just kind of zoom in a little bit. So here are the 3 truck docks. They would be converting, I believe, this end dock and then this 3rd dock over here, the ones that they're planning to convert. Here, kind of a little closer, you can see they're proposing a new overhead door and pedestrian door. So some elevations. Applicant is looking at just doing some minor modifications to the elevations, some coloring changes to more meet their corporate branding, and then 1 sign on each the east and east and west facades of the building. Both signs shown are in compliance with what the zoning code would permit for this district. Here's where you can see they're proposing that additional overhead door on the south facade and that pedestrian access door. Staff is recommending approval of this with just a couple of conditions. The first be that they combine those 3 parcels into a single parcel. It's consistent with what we have done with a lot of the other projects of this nature where you have multiple parcels. Evidence or creation of cross-access easements. We just want to make sure that the fact that their entrance is not physically on their property, that either they do have the cross-access easements already obtained, or they need to work out new cross-access easements to maintain kind of that shared circulation of the larger development area. And then final landscaping be approved as site plan review process. Again, as we do these, we just want to, as we get to that site plan review, double check that landscaping, make sure it is all code compliant.
Great, thank you. Technical questions? David?
Can you just go back to the parcels to understand what we're talking about, what we're combining, please?
Yep. Okay, so it is this large parcel with the parking lot, this parcel with the J.C. Penney's building, this J.C. and then it wraps around, so this is 2, and then the Miles Kimball site is the 3rd, so it'd be these 3 parcels.
Okay. In that regards, they will take care of updating or the landscaping that has fallen in disrepair, if I understand the condition.
Yep, they will be updating all the landscaping that is missing on the property they own, so basically from here around.
Is this our opportunity, or is there an opportunity to either have additional landscaping there as certainly one of the threshold areas of the community? And secondly, is there any consideration of any kind of landscaping in the parking lot?
So at this time, the applicant is not, and they're here, Nick may be able to speak to it further, sure exactly what the end goal for the parking lot is, of what they're gonna be doing with it. It is definitely the plan commission's, purview to, if you do wanna see some landscaping put in there, you can, and same with if you feel additional landscaping along that perimeter could be warranted, this would be your opportunity to do that.
And just to follow up, even though I understand there's apparently, 3 different owners in that whole complex, is there similar disrepair of other landscaping that should be followed up on?
Yep. Part of what staff looked into as this project was coming forward is we will be ordering in the landscaping in some of these other areas that has fallen to deficiency.
Other technical questions? Go ahead, Kath.
Looks like 370 units within this building. Wow. And it does say that it would be accessible via semi-trailer, short trucks, and personal vehicles, because it would have to be if you're going to be storing stuff. And I'm assuming there would be adequate ventilation for people literally driving into the center
That's these,
of the building and then driving out again somewhere.
so that traffic is designed for these 3 different loading bays.
Okay, but
That's
then,
why they want to modify 2 of the existing semi-loading bays, so that semi-trucks, short trucks, and pickup trucks can all access that loading area, because right now they're the recessed loading bays,
okay.
so you couldn't get, if you had a
So,
pickup
so
truck.
nobody's
wouldn't be able to-
driving into the building, but somehow they're gonna be able to
basically
load stuff
unload it.
onto little mini truck things, push trucks or something. Is that how people get their stuff to their 370 units?
The applicant's nodding their heads.
Okay, they can come tell us.
Other technical questions? Okay, seeing none, anyone here from the public to speak to this item today? Come on up, sir.
Good afternoon. Ken Kozakowski with Consolidated Construction, 4300 North Richmond, Appleton, Wisconsin. I'm here as a representative along with Phoenix Realty to answer any questions and to kind of pick up on, yes, the loading docks would have, trolleys or carts to take things in at that point. If there were to be any traffic going through the building at some point, that would definitely have to meet ventilation requirements per the state code, so that would be addressed if that ever came about. But at this time, that's not part of this.
That's not part of it. Okay.
Do we have other questions for the petitioner as long as he's up here? Go ahead, David.
Would you have any, you or the owners have any problem with perhaps having a little more intensive landscaping if along the Highway 44 and the property that you control?
Hi, John Perea. I'm representing Phoenix for this situation property. As of right now, we're kind of unsure what we wanted to do with the parking lot. So if we start kind of breaking things up in the parking lot or anything in the future, we'd want to address that landscaping at that time. During this project, we were just trying to bring things back up to code, put some more life into the property, and just kind of get a little bit of traffic in there and figure out, what we want to do going forward from that point.
And I'm sorry, I didn't phrase that well. I was only talking about the perimeter areas that you can.
Okay, yeah, I mean, we could look into, I mean, as of right now, it seemed like it was just gonna be a basic use, not a lot of traffic in and out, so we didn't want to, and we do have some advertising in the building too, so, I mean, if we can work up a solution that works for both, sides, that's fine, but we don't, additionally, we don't wanna block off, visual, from, that main road on the south side of the lot.
Any other questions for the petitioners? Thank you, gentlemen.
Yep, thank you.
Anyone else here from the public to speak to this item? Okay, back to the commission.
Move approval with conditions.
Second?
Hey, Ed and then David.
I'm not totally sure how to phrase this, because I never like to be somebody who's just blanketly against a use or anything like that. But I've got some significant concerns about what this is going to do to the potential redevelopment of the rest of this area. You know, we have some underutilized sites there. We have vacant sites to the north. I've seen enough storage units to know that they don't add a lot to thriving retail areas and thriving commercial areas and things like that. They're certainly an acceptable use. I think we raked U-Haul over the coals to get them where we wanted them to be on a far more underutilized site than this. And this one seems like it didn't quite get the same consideration. So I think I may be a no on this as a storage use, regardless of what it looks like. So I don't usually vote no on stuff, frankly, so I'm just trying to explain my rationale for doing so, I guess.
Thank you. David?
That's a great perspective and something that I hadn't considered, that you're going to have, I'm going to guess say, not bringing a lot of traffic or foot traffic to the balance of the development. But that my suggestion, and it can only be if we can just read it in the notes, it doesn't have to be an amendment, that staff work with the developer, not just to be code compliant, which was code compliant many years ago, but to try to enhance the visuals of the property they control along the 44, 41 gateway, yes.
Okay, other discussion? Seeing none, call the roll.
Hintz,
Aye.
Kiefer,
Aye.
Weigert,
Aye.
Perry,
Nay.
Prop,
Aye.
Forsick,
Aye.
Bowen,
No.
Cummings,
Aye.
Wojtek.
Aye.
Motion carried. 7-2.
Final item for the meeting is number 7, conditional use permit and specific implementation plan amendment for an outdoor display area at 3911 South Washburn Street.
Mr. Chairman.
Well, here we go.
Get the guns out.
Okay, so here's the subject site. It is located at the southwest corner of South Washburn Street and West Ripple Avenue and zoned SMU PD. It is home to Osh Vegas Palms Resort RV Park and Camp Store. A CUP and PD were approved in 2007 for the RV Park and Camp Store, and it was amended in 2009 and 2010. In September of last year, Planning Services issued a correction notice to the property owner for placement of structures at the site without prior approval. There's some sheds located at the southeast corner of the property here. The petitioner then submitted an application for a CUP PD amendment to allow an outdoor display area for storage units, as shown here in their site plan. According to the applicant, the storage units range in size from 8 by 10 to 12 by 24 and are made off-site and then transported to Osh Vegas for display or delivered directly to the customer. And the purpose of the display area is for potential customers to see the structures in person before buying. Staff inspected the site following the CUP and PD amendment request and determined that conditions of the approved CUP and PD are not being met. The improvements required by the approved site plan have not been completed. There are some 3 landscape islands shown here that have not been installed yet. There is pavement in the northeast corner of the site that was to be removed. That's in the setback area. And also pavement was to be removed along the southeast corner of the property that's in the setback area, and that is where these storage units are right now. Here's a view of the storage sheds where they are right now. Here's a view of the parking area, a view from Ripple Ave. There should be landscape islands here as required in the site plan, also a landscape island over here. And then this photo shows there's some pavement here that was to be removed that is still there yet. Staff is not supportive of the request for the outdoor display area, as the proposed location is on pavement that was supposed to be removed, and also appears to be in the front setback area. Compliance with the existing CUP and PD conditions and approved site plans should be met before considering additional uses for the site. Also, staff does not feel that an outdoor display area fronting south of Washburn Street is an appropriate use when considering the character of the corridor. And staff recommends denial of the conditional use permit and specific implementation plan amendment for an outdoor display area as proposed.
Okay, thank you. Technical questions? Ed?
So is there an area on site where you do feel this would be appropriate? I guess is that, so one of your objections is that you don't think that it's appropriate to have it located within that Washburn Street setback, correct?
Correct.
So is there a area that you feel staff would be comfortable with if you did move it, or is it just kind of like, we just don't want it on site?
I mean,
I'm be candid, I
I
suppose.
think we would prefer it be back somewhere on the other part of the site where it's less prominent, but that's gonna not meet his goal of wanting to have the prominence of the site.
Sure.
Hang those two things. But if we're gonna live with something, would rather live with it, something in the back where, you know, in that more storage area type place.
So if I understand it, I'm gonna try to paraphrase, I guess, the rest of what I'm reading in the staff report. This is how I'm interpreting it, tell me if I'm wrong. Don't ask us for more stuff until you do the stuff we said you had to do. I mean, is that the gist of it?
Fair inference.
Okay. I'm trying to like just kind of understand. I don't think I was here maybe for the last Osh Vegas one. I was on the plan commission, I just don't remember if I made the meeting or not, so.
Been through several
I
renditions.
know we've had a bunch of different ones on this one, I just don't remember the last one, so I don't remember exactly.
I think our first goal is get the site into compliance.
Right, okay.
David?
Yeah, this has always been a sort of a challenged development, but I do have a question of what wasn't done in it. The areas that are dotted and lined
Go back to that.
in the back, in the rear of were those supposed to be paved,
What are you
the
talking about?
roadways? If you went to the picture before, is that showing those driveways as paved? And are they paved? I would take that the
This is
engineering drawing.
2015.
Well, one of them looks paved, but the one in the middle there certainly doesn't look paved. But it looks like gravel. This one looks paved. I mean, that one looks paved, that one kind of looks paved, but I can't tell.
Okay.
I don't know if Brian saw that when he was out there.
No way when I was over there.
And I'll save my editorials.
Other technical questions? Okay, seeing none, anyone here from the public to speak to this item, come on up, sir. Tell us what you know.
I'm Marty Shibboleth, 1077 Meadow Lane in Fond du Lac. I'm the owner of Osh Vegas Palms. If you go back to the original, I guess the rear of the building that is supposedly in question, there are two landscape islands evidently that were put on there. We have given the outline, or I guess the layout of that back parking lot relative to, and again, please remember this is a campground and it's the home of big rigs. So that back parking lot, RVs pull in and park in a north-south direction. So the two islands that were originally planned now have become, and I believe the space of those two islands roughly were 200 square feet in total space. And since then, we have put in a 200-foot long by approximately 6-foot wide tree landscape middle area. So we added 7 more trees down that middle area. So in essence, we've about tripled what should have been back there. In regards to the front area where the storage buildings ideally would go, the discussion on that early on was to remove that and take it right back down to the sub. But again, as we get into this, you're talking 12, 15, 17,000 pound vehicles. I need all the pavement I can get, so removing anything from that front area, which is our main entrance into the campground, just doesn't make sense. Whether the storage buildings go there or not, to remove any more pavement, which then puts you back into, we might as well just be a Country USA in a mud pit. And again, being a RV park, didn't make sense as far as removing that much more pavement. Relative to what has been removed, and that's probably where we're gonna have to have more discussion with the city plan department, the areas that were to be removed, and I'm not sure what other landscape berm is being referred to, because we had to put in 4 out there originally, and all 4 of those are in there. So, be willing to take any questions from
Any
anybody.
questions for petitioner as long as he's here? Ed and then Kathy?
Yes.
So, just out of curiosity, I guess, so since this was approved, I guess, are you saying operation of the site has kind of taught you maybe a little bit more like where things should be and can be located without, like, it sounds like you're saying that they're pulling in and damaging, like.
They're not damaging any landscape area. If we would have put the berms where they are circled right now in that back parking lot, there would be no way you can get a 45-foot motorhome pulling a 10 to 12-foot trailer or vehicle in and out. So we modified to put a landscape berm all the way down the middle so they can come on either side of it. If you would have put them right in the middle, then they would have had, then you would have had damage, both to my property, but more importantly and more costly, it would have been damage to their vehicles. And when you're talking $400,000 and $500,000 rigs, these trees that we put in are 13 feet minimum height, which is about roughly the height of your standard RV or camper. So right now when they pull in, they're not hitting anything. But we, again, instead of putting 2 landscape berms, one on each end, which would have been a nightmare trying to get vehicles in and out of there, we opted to go north to south with one long berm that in essence added almost 3 times more landscape with trees, with bark mulch around the trees, and in my opinion, adds way more character.
And where is that? Sorry, I'm just having
Yeah,
a hard
we
time.
don't-
That's
So-
2015, that's on there.
You look,
Yeah,
so this is your main entrance in. We took out driveway there, took out driveway there,
sure.
took out driveway there. This is the building. So right about where this line comes, which is about where they wanted one landscape berm here, one landscape berm there. When you're bringing a rig straight in, to get down this middle row to park, they would have been running into the 2 berms.
Okay.
So what we opted to do is we dropped in, roughly it's about a 200-foot stretch all the way down, that's open, tore all that pavement out, and then we dropped in 7 more trees. So now they come on either side of it. Instead of having to maneuver around 2 berms, they're coming down either side, right down the middle of our back parking lot.
So was that different from what was initially approved on the plan?
It was different in the size of the space, yes.
Okay. Well, so I think that, I mean, maybe that's the gist of the, sort of the crux of the issue here, is that one thing was approved and that in the field, something else occurred, and that's why we're looking at this, that's why it's getting looked at as like a non-compliant type situation. And maybe there is a rationale for the stuff that you did, a functional rationale for it, that maybe is a reason that it couldn't have been done that way. I don't know. I mean, I'm just trying to understand it, because it seems like one thing was approved, another thing was done, and that maybe,
If there was anything, I didn't realize, I mean, looking at the fact that we were tripling what was requested of us with the landscape berms, we put in one long landscape trench.
Is that it right there?
That is.
Sure, okay. I'm just,
Those are power utilities all the way down. And then you've got mulch going all the way from front to back.
Sure. I'm just like, I'm thinking from a standpoint that I get what you're saying, that you tripled it, but it's not what was approved, and therefore, we've done this on some other
Should have
stuff.
been amended.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It should have been amended
We've
before
amended this
before a
plan
major change
twice
like that was
already.
done. And that's what I'm saying. Is it possible that this comes back, sort of surveying existing conditions and understanding the rationale that some of that stuff was done, instead of putting this immediate enforcement action or something like that, just saying, hey, let's figure out what's there. Let's figure out why it was done. Let's see if that can match up, if that can mesh under the code. If there's a rationale for it, if there's something that needs to come out, that's got to come out. It's got to come out. I mean, I understand that. I guess this to me reads more like a communication breakdown than it does a non-compliance issue. Well, I shouldn't say non-compliant, because it is non-compliant, but I guess that's what I'm trying to figure out, if there's a way to
That's not our only problem.
solve this one.
Kathy's next, and then David.
Well, you're still responding to the outdoor display, and that's
Right.
still.
Right. No,
has to be
I'm trying to get past the first issue, which is that it's non-compliant to begin with. So my paraphrasing earlier, which is, don't ask us for more stuff if we're not doing the stuff we're supposed to do. I understand that. I guess I'm just trying to get past the first hurdle before we jump over the second hurdle.
Kathy, and then David.
Okay, along this island with the trees,
Yes.
did you say that these great long people with huge RVs and towing stuff behind them park along there as campsites?
They typically, that's going to be our overnight campers who are pulling a vehicle. They don't want to unhook. They don't want to unhitch. They can pull right in, they can plug in, and when they leave, they go out their back entrance in the morning.
Okay, so the smaller spots in the back, angled spots
So-
are for,
They're all capable of holding a very large vehicle. This way, and I'll give you an example. EAA week is one of those examples where the regular campsites in the back are going to be filled up immediately. If I get someone that is rolling through town but not part of EAA, they want a spot for the night, I can slide them down that middle for a night, and then they're gone the next morning. While the rest of the campground is full of folks who are here for the full 10-day, 11-day run.
okay, and I don't know, that's not necessarily, or is it a problem with the,
Well, it certainly
And
doesn't
the-
show, it doesn't show on our plan that way. I mean, we
doesn't show
don't.
in our plan,
yeah,
so
we don't have
that
a
makes it a problem,
Problem.
because it was a conditional use permit, and on conditional use permits, stuff has to show on the plan.
If I'm not mistaken, though, the conditional use permit was voted finalized after our third year. We went back to we were in a conditional use permit the first 3 years.
It's always a conditional use permit.
Right.
Yeah. That one just had sort of rolling.
There was a review, that was.
Yeah, that had
it's
like
to
rolling
see if you were,
reviews. Now I remember that.
In compliance or something to that effect.
Yeah.
But the conditions always stay with the property,
The plan development.
or the plan, okay.
Go ahead, David.
Yeah. I had more, but go ahead.
I just want to say, we're hijacking the status and the development of the property with really what the issue is at hand. And I think that the non-conform, however the property was developed is independent of really what we want to talk about, and that's whether or not it's appropriate to have those storage sheds.
If I can offer one input on that storage unit discussion. The storage units, in their current sense, and if you saw the photos, they're Amish made in Westby. So they are beautiful, beautiful structures. The reason we were chosen as a site for them, number one, is the accessibility to Highway 41. Anybody that drives on Highway 41, unless you're in an SUV or a semi, you can't see over that beautiful concrete barrier that's right down the middle of I-41. So the only concern anybody would have is anybody that is driving on that frontage road. And I haven't seen the latest traffic counts, but there's not that much traffic on that road outside of Country USA, Rock USA, EAA. If you ask me, those units actually enhance what we've been doing out at Osh Vegas. The people who are buying those units are buying them for cabins, they're buying them for lake homes, they're actually buying them for other campgrounds where they actually let them put storage units on their property. That was why we looked at them. We aren't allowed to have storage units on our property for our own personal use, but those are units that you can purchase. Those are made off-site, trucked in. When somebody buys them, they pick them up with a trailer, take them off, deliver them to the customer site. They're all open, so I would encourage anybody, if you'd like to stop in and take a look at them, see them for yourself inside. Very well built, look beautiful, and again, I would tell you, actually makes the property look a lot nicer.
Go ahead, Kath.
You're right, the storage units are very nice looking, and that's not the point.
No,
The
it's not.
point is that they're in the wrong spot on the site. I know you want to have visibility up front, and they're all.
In your
crowded
opinion,
in-
they're the wrong
all
spot.
Crowded in together.
No, they're not.
This is my perspective. Crowded in together, and they don't seem to work on the site in terms of a planning thing. And the other thing, I'm sorry I have to say this, but this site has been a problem. And that little building that you have there verges on, I have to say, an eyesore. And I'm sorry about that, because this RV park, I thought had potential. It doesn't seem to have lived up to its potential, which hasn't got anything to do with little storage buildings. But unless we can work out something, a way that the storage buildings can be located along the south line or somewhere else on the property other than way up front like that.
I would have no argument with the planning department if there was a place that we can make those work. Where I do get frustrated, and I'll bring this up, is with the planning commission, because this is the fourth time now, if I go back through our notes, where the viability of my business has been called into question. This is our 10th year in business. We provide a very viable service for the city of Oshkosh and the Fox Valley. The number of people who stay with me who are in town working for Oshkosh Corporation on a limited basis and do not want to stay in a hotel, would rather bring in their $350,000 motorhome and spend money at our restaurants, get their laundry done at laundromats, buy groceries, buy gas, have haircuts, go see dentists. If the building's not pretty enough for you, that's unfortunate. But that building and that property was a drug zone and a prostitution zone for way too long before we took it over. And I would argue that's the best this property has ever looked.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Other questions for the petitioner, as long as he's up here? Right,
I
thank
might
you.
have a question. I just want to clarify something. Are we upset with the setbacks on the south end or on the east end?
Well, I think
Both.
It's the use.
So if you were to realign this north-south direction, would that be?
you're looking at a couple different issues there. You're looking at the setback, and then you're looking at outdoor display in the front yard.
Okay.
I think the setback
I'm
here would
just
be 25
trying
feet. I think it's short of that right now. And then the 10-foot side yard setback, it might be close to that, but I think the issue was it's in the front yard setback here, which is 25 feet.
I'm just trying to kind of negotiate here.
Well, if you're negotiating, then yeah, the building, one of the issues is going to be the building placement, building placement in that setback area.
Right.
Which can probably be worked out by moving them back, which brings us into the second issue, which would be the outdoor display in front.
Okay. And does the outdoor display specifically it goes against what we approved with the CUP, am I correct?
Well, we never approved that with the
Right,
CUP.
right. So it's,
Right. Or the plan development, I should say, the
So-
plan development.
So that is, in the underlying zone, and as part of the PD, outdoor storage, outdoor display is not permitted by the code.
It's as a principal use, it's conditional. So if you have over 250 square feet of display area, it becomes a principal use.
Okay.
And then the placement of it, I'm not,
I think it needs to meet setbacks for placement.
generally, because it's just, I don't know, we'd have to look at the code. Generally, we don't like,
Sure.
Yeah,
No, I understand. I guess I'm just trying to understand what the code actually says, like what we're actually trying to regulate.
And the code has changed. Remember, the code has
Yeah.
changed since the last time
And-
we looked at this.
Yeah.
So, John, you have.
Then,
Well,
then,
sufficient
then
up there.
I could ask, is there a possibility of just putting it out there to lay this over, to get a little more communication, to see if there is something to present to us as far as a location, and if this is acceptable? And would the staff be amenable to that?
Staff's amenable to anything.
Yeah.
Done.
We have had a great working relationship with Mr. Birch in the past, so.
David and Kathy have a response for that.
You know, I appreciate what you're trying to broker, but it's not going to change my view that this doesn't belong in the front yard, again, on Highway 41. If they want to have it, you can have it in the back of the facility. Consolidated looked a lot better than your place. So this is not an enhancement, this is not the kind of development that I want to see there. If we keep on, we in the past had pointed to similar larger buildings that were down in Fond du Lac where they were just plopped down with not being on foundations. We worked through that situation on
By the fountain.
on Highway 45.
by the fountain.
Where this is, I think we're, at least in my mind, it's delaying the inevitable, that this doesn't belong in the front yard of, on a Highway 41 facility.
Yeah,
Which I think could be part of the discussion.
Hey, Kath, you had a comment for the, Kathy?
I'm debating what I'm gonna say. If layover would help to try to figure out a place not in your front setback on your property where we could place these storage units that you would feel comfortable with and that the staff would feel comfortable with, then I'm in favor of layover. But I gotta move the storage units back.
Ed?
That's kind of where I was headed upstairs here too, because
figured.
like I said, I think that there's, we approved a plan and our code says, we approved a plan that says X and our code says Y. And over the course of time, the business plan here seems to have evolved and things have changed in a way that X and Y don't necessarily fit here. And maybe X and Y will never fit here. I don't know. But I don't know that us saying, no to this or no to that or just straight up denying is a way for us to encourage the site to be what the site can be, I guess. So I think there's someplace on that site that these storage units probably make some sort of sense. I don't know where it is necessarily. I do know that what's there is different from what was approved. So I think we need to rectify that as a total conversation and just bring back a plan that says, all right, this is what this is going to operate as, from a development and functionality standpoint going forward. And, if we can find a spot for these storage units, this is where it's going to be and this is how they can do it. But I don't know that just saying no to this encourages that sort of productivity. So I'm definitely supportive of a layover if you're going to make that motion.
Okay,
When
you
we
have a
get to
question
that
for the
point.
petitioner, Thomas?
Yes, these storage sheds, if you drive anywhere throughout Wisconsin, you see them everywhere. This company that builds them obviously approaches other people to do the same thing. One thing that is clear about these storage sheds when they're displayed on properties is they are all displayed up front on properties. Whether they chose you or you chose them, I don't know what the situation is, but it's very likely that if the storage sheds cannot remain where they are, they're not going to be there, period. It's tough to sell them in the back of a lot. They're meant to be visible. If you go anywhere, you'll see that with these storage sheds. However, one of the things that I am also concerned about is whatever condition is put upon this, whether it's approved with conditions or whatever, we clearly have a situation where we have an owner who kind of works on the fringes of the allowable conditions. The island or berm that was put there counter to what was approved wasn't necessarily done for aesthetic purposes. It was done to create a dozen and a half boondocking spots for revenue gain. And so my concern is that even if there was an allowable use for those types of things, what will happen next? And I think that we need to call the question as it is without modification and decide on it and its merits tonight.
Still, do you have anything else to add before we close? Okay.
No, that's fine.
Thank you very much. Anyone else here to speak to this item today? And then we'll close public commentary and bring it back to the commission.
Make a motion to lay this over for discussion. I don't know how much time staff would need. I don't know if we need 2 weeks or 4 weeks.
Yeah, you may need
Give
6
us-
weeks.
give us-
Lay over
4 to 6
until you
need
guys
4 to
Well,
6
I mean,
weeks.
we have to come to a conclusion. The sheds are there right now. So that's an ongoing issue because we haven't permitted them in the first place. So we have to take care of this sooner and later. If that's the way the plan commission is going to vote, if they're going to lay it over, then give us not 2 weeks, but give us 4 weeks to the. Is it March 6th? Yeah, that's it. March 6th meeting. If that's the way the vote goes.
Until 6 then.
You made a motion to lay it over for 1 month.
Yes.
I'll second that.
Seconded. David?
So we would allow, irrespective of where somebody might feel that it'd be allowable to put these storage units someplace on the site, not necessarily in the front yard, to lay over. We would allow this non-conforming situation to
Well, it's more non-conforming. It's in violation.
in violation. We would.
Well, sorry.
And so I would
Have they
just
issued a
follow-
correction notice?
We've issued a correction notice for something out there. I'm not sure.
We issued a
I mean,
correction
that's,
notice,
I'm just.
I would suggest.
Yeah,
Well,
look at
I
the
mean, he's
enforcement
trying,
arm.
Marty's trying to bring the site into compliance. That's why he's here.
Yeah.
For the plan development request. So he knows that there's an issue out there,
Mm-hmm.
whether it was verbally we told him or whether it was a written violation. He knows that's why he's here.
Yeah.
And my preference is to vote this down. He's still gonna have to come back with a new site plan regardless. I mean, because the operating of the site is different than what was submitted and approved. So that, we've got to come back with a new site plan. At the same time, if he wants to have the, assuming that general feeling is that those storage units don't belong in the front yard, that they need to be removed anyways, then we ought to tackle that situation right now, have them come back with a new site plan of where, with a plan of operation, a plan of circulation, a plan of landscaping, and a plan of where he would propose to put the storage units.
Yeah, there's a motion and a second. Any other discussion on the motion besides what Dave just shared? Ed?
I'll just say, I feel like we're sort of doing that similarly. I think I'm just trying to be nicer about it. That's all, Dave. I'm sorry. By laying over, yeah.
Any other discussion?
I know what you're saying, though.
Any other discussion on the motion? Seeing none, then call the roll on and the motion is again to lay this over for 1 month so that the district can work with city staff to do some correcting of this site.
Hintz,
Aye.
Kiefer,
Aye.
Weigert, Harry,
Nay.
Crop,
Aye.
Forsick,
No.
Bowen,
Aye.
Cummings,
No.
Wojtek.
No.
5-4.
Motion carried, 5-4.
All right, the motion is laid over.
But he still has to move the units.
No.
Well,
Now,
No,
now-
we aren't the
No, we're
enfor-
in
We have it laid,
Sorry,
we
that's-
have it laid over.
Huh?
So we have it laid over until we come to that conclusion.
All right,
Still, David, he's still under orders. It's gonna come to a conclusion.
any other items of business for us before we adjourn and go to workshop? There's-
Oh, at the next meeting, just be prepared, we're gonna have a public input.
Why, it was nice.
Neighborhood public input session on the recommendations for Oshkosh Avenue. I'm sure Ed will have his report by then.
All right,
Motion
thank
to
you.
adjourn.
Been moved to adjourn? All those in favor?
All of us.
Aye, okay. All those, not in favor? Okay, we are adjourned, being a workshop.